In this video, we'll go over important information for travel reimbursements. Before we go over the specifics of travel reimbursements, we'll briefly go over the university travel policies and procedures. The university is responsible for ensuring all travel expense reimbursements are processed according to the relevant Commonwealth and university policies, procedures, and IRS regulations. The Commonwealth's Department of Accounts publishes the Commonwealth Accounting Policy and Procedures, also known as the CAP Manual, and it includes detailed guidance on travel regulations and the associated allowable reimbursements. University Policy 1051, titled the Business Travel Reimbursement Policy, documents that the university will reimburse individuals traveling on official university business for reasonable and necessary expenses. Travel expenses are open to the public and must be able to withstand the test of public review. When planning and paying for travel, economy, prudence, and necessity are of primary concern. The use of state funds to accommodate personal comfort, convenience, and taste is not permitted. In addition to University Policy 1051, specifics regarding travel and associated reimbursements can be found on the university's webpage. Now let's take a look at reimbursable business travel expenses. You can receive reimbursement for lodging and the associated taxes and fees, transportation expenses like airfare, taxis, mileage, Ubers, and Lyfts, tolls and parking fees, if you're charged for a business call or faxes at the hotel, or for rental cars and gas for the vehicle, and also meals and incidentals. And incidentals are considered costs for personal phone calls, tips, laundry, and transportation to restaurants. Now let's take a look at non-reimbursable travel expenses. We do not reimburse costs for alcoholic beverages or entertainment, expenses for children, spouses, or companions while on travel status, services to gain entry to locked vehicles, and other personal emergencies like illness or negligence are also not reimbursable. We do not reimburse for movies and additional charges to hotel rooms, and we do not reimburse for travel insurance costs. What information will you need to request travel reimbursements? First, you'll need to know the travel type. It may be a domestic U.S. trip, which covers the contiguous United States, or an international trip, which covers Hawaii, Alaska, U.S. territories like Puerto Rico, and of course, countries outside the United States. Or you may be simply requesting reimbursement for a small business-related purchase. Second, you'll need to know the purpose of the trip. Were you attending a conference or an educational training seminar? Were you out on field work or presenting at an event? Do you work for admissions or athletics and you're out on a recruitment trip? Or did you simply purchase a tangible item costing less than $200? If none of these examples fit the purpose of your travel, provide a brief explanation. Lastly, you will need a list of your travel expenses. Gather the documents for all types of transportation you utilize. Also, any information for per diem, deductions, and business meals. You'll need all lodging documents, any telecommunication expenses, documentation for miscellaneous fees like registration, and of course, receipts for business purchases. Let's go over the documents you'll need in greater detail. When requesting reimbursement for airfare or train receipts, be sure to attach your confirmation and receipts noting the payment method you used. And remember that first class, business class, and premium coach tickets are not reimbursable. Keep a copy or a screenshot of your boarding pass or ticket stub. If there were any ticket change fees, be sure to provide an explanation and documentation. If you were charged baggage fees, attach a copy of the receipt. And if there were any excess baggage fees above the industry standard, provide an explanation. When renting a car for business travel, be sure to select the most economical rental car company and vehicle, which is typically a compact or economy car. When you're making the reservation, decline the refueling option, insurance, and all extras like GPS and toll payment services, as these add-ons are not reimbursable. However, if you're renting a vehicle internationally, rental car insurance is reimbursable. When requesting reimbursement, be sure to have the final rent-a-car receipt showing the method of payment, and if you received a free upgrade, be sure that documentation for the upgrade is attached as well. If requesting reimbursement for gas, you'll need to also attach a copy of the rental car contract. We do not reimburse fuel purchases for personal vehicles. We'll go over personal vehicle reimbursements in the next section. If you refueled a state vehicle, you'll need to provide the make, model, and license plate number of that vehicle. Let's go over personal vehicle use reimbursements, known as mileage. You can only request reimbursement for mileage while on travel status. Your personal vehicle is considered cost beneficial if traveling less than 200 miles. If you'll be going on an overnight trip, take into account the average number of miles you'll be traveling over the period. The mileage rate you'll be reimbursed depends on the number of miles traveled that day. You will be reimbursed at the current IRS mileage rate per mile if the distance traveled per day is less than 200 miles. Otherwise, you'll be reimbursed at a reduced rate. For mileage reimbursement, you will need to provide your start and end location along with all destinations in between. For example, say you were attending a conference at VCU and later will check into the hotel after the last meeting. You start your day at ODU and travel to VCU, which is only a total of 95 miles. But that same evening, you travel from VCU to Marriott, which is a total of 4 miles. Altogether for the travel day, you traveled 99 miles. ODU to VCU and then VCU to Marriott. If the mileage reimbursement you are requesting includes travel to and from home on your workday, you'll need to deduct commuting mileage. Commuting mileage is the number of miles driven from your home to your base work location on a typical workday. To make requesting mileage simpler, utilize the distance wizard to automatically populate mileage details in Chrome River. If while traveling you incur a parking or a toll charge, be sure to provide a copy of the receipt if the charge is greater than $75. If the charge is less than $75 and you do not have a receipt, you can simply provide the name and location of the parking garage or toll plaza. Reimbursements for taxi and shuttle services require the following information. You'll need a receipt for each occurrence that exceeds $75, and note that tips are limited to a maximum of 15%. You'll also need to record the purpose, destination, and name of the service provider, especially if you do not have a receipt. M&IE, or Meals and Incidental Expenses, are reimbursable on a per diem basis for overnight business travel outside of the traveler's official workstation, which is at least 25 miles away. Receipts for per diem meals are not required. To view the current per diem rates, you can visit www.gsa.gov to determine the allowable per diem based on the physical location of your hotel. Only 75% of the allowable per diem rate can be claimed on travel dates, which would be your trip departure and return dates. M&IE must be reduced for any applicable meals that are provided as complimentary by the hotel or included with airfare or provided by the conference sponsor. As discussed earlier, incidentals are included in M&IE per diem and reimbursed at a flat rate of $5 for each day of overnight travel and $3.75 on the travel days. And again, incidentals are tips for waiters, bellhops and valet, personal phone calls, laundry, and transportation to restaurants. Now, business meals are expensed separately from M&IE. Individuals who are not on travel status may be eligible for reimbursement of business meals. Receipts are required for business meals as they are reimbursed according to the total amount spent for the meal. We utilize the per diem rates posted on gsa.gov to determine the allowable rate for the specified meal, either breakfast, lunch, or dinner, which also includes taxes and tips. The Budget Unit Director, or BUD, may approve reimbursement of up to 50% above the allowable rate. A detailed receipt must be provided in Chrome River along with the purpose of the meal, description of the business that was discussed, and how it benefits the university. You must also provide a list of the participants. Chrome River will provide a form to complete, or you can attach a PDF of the business-related meal expense form found on the university travel website. Let's go over lodging requirements. Lodging may be reimbursed when an individual is traveling on official business overnight and outside of their official workstation. And remember, that's greater than 25 miles from your base point. You can review the lodging and per diem rates posted on www.gsa.gov to determine the allowable rate for the physical location of your hotel. And note, the allowable per diem rate for lodging does not include taxes or surcharges. When making a reservation, select the most economical room and request the government rate when available. International lodging requires a pre-approval request prior to travel. When it comes to Airbnbs and home sharing, there may be a cost savings, but safety is our concern. So Airbnbs and similar lodging is not permitted and not reimbursable. Now, alternate lodging like dorms or hostels are permitted. However, you'll need to provide a comparison statement for review by the Director of Procurement. The statement needs to have the total cost of the alternate lodging, length of stay, cost of typical lodging in the area, and the net savings. Best practice is to turn in these documents prior to travel to avoid delays in reimbursement. If the nightly rate of your lodging is over the GSA rate, you do not need prior approval. However, you will need to provide justification. The BUD's approval of the expense report authorizes reimbursement of excess lodging rates up to 200% above the GSA guidelines after the trip is completed. Any amount above the 200% must be charged to a Ledger 6 along with the applicable taxes. When requesting reimbursement, you'll need to attach the lodging receipt showing the balance paid in full and the method of payment. If 2 or more people lodged in the room, provide the single rate and the additional cost for occupancy. If the reservation was made online, provide the confirmation page as well. If you're requesting reimbursement for internet service like a Wi-Fi fee charged by the hotel, you need to provide a business reason for purchasing the service. And the same goes for business calls and fax services. You'll also need to provide the phone bill, name and title of the person you contacted, and their phone number. The most common miscellaneous fee you'll have is the conference registration. The following documentation is needed for reimbursement of conference registration fees. You'll need the registration receipt, a copy of the confirmation if you paid online, the payment method you used. If you paid via credit or debit card, you'll need the last 4 digits of the card used, and also provide the reason a P card was not used to prepay the fee. Lastly, we'll go over small business expenses or business purchases less than $200. When requesting reimbursement of office supplies, provide the reason the contracted office supply vendor was not used. You'll also need to provide the reason a P card was not used. And most importantly, you'll need to provide a receipt. Reimbursement for food supplies requires a completed business meal form, whether it be the Chrome River form or an attached PDF of the business-related meal expense form. You'll need to provide a list of attendees and, of course, a receipt. Listed here are just a few important reminders regarding travel policy and reimbursements. You must ensure that a clear business purpose is documented for each travel reimbursement. For example, simply stating mileage does not give the business purpose. It'd be better recorded as mileage to Richmond, Virginia for the conference. If requesting reimbursement after 60 days has passed, all related expenses must be charged to a Ledger 6 budget code. If the lodging room rate exceeds 200% of the lodging per diem for a night, the amount over 200% and the associated taxes must be charged to a Ledger 6. If a business meal exceeds 150% of allowable per diem, the excess must be charged to a Ledger 6. Additionally, all attendees of a business meal must be provided along with a summary of the university business that was discussed. If a rental car other than economy was rented, you must also provide justification. The sheer amount of information you'll need to provide may seem daunting. However, all of this information is recorded on the ODU University Travel webpage. You can also reach out to your assigned travel processor, whose contact information can also be found on the University Travel page.